She says mindfulness cures every soul.
And I remember thinking, wow, if everybody on the planet knew how to do this practice, one, there really wouldn't be much need for my work as a psychotherapist.
The path.
The path, right. The way out is through.
She says to love what we feel.
Or to try to bring kind of a childlike curiosity to our experience. What's this like right now? How am I actually experiencing it? And that kind of curiosity kind of opens up.
She says we are born complete.
Always beyond our conditioned mind is our true nature, our Buddha nature, the part of our consciousness that is not conditioned, is spacious and stable and open and wise. That's who we really are in the depth of our being or beyond the habits of our conditioning.
Today we're here with Mare Chapman. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. Well, I'm an ordinary human being, trying to figure out how to live my life in a way that's most beneficial, how to live in alignment with the way things actually are, versus getting caught up in the stories in my mind and trying to just be of use. And I feel so fortunate to have the life that I'm living and to be able to do the work that I'm doing. And so I feel very blessed and grateful to be here with you talking about this stuff.
Yeah, being a human is hard.
It is. I know.
I often feel we get caught with so many thoughts, feelings, everything.
We do.
Yeah. I know you have been practicing mindfulness for a really long time. You started psychotherapy about 30 years ago?
Yeah, maybe even more than that.
Wow.
Yeah, right, Judy. Yeah.
You've also taught mindful classes to so many people. I'm really curious, what brought you into this field initially?
Into the mindfulness field?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's a wonderful question. And at a certain point in my life, I started hearing the word spirituality in my mind. Also, at a very young age, I realized that it was our mind more than anything else that created either our heaven or our hell. So for a long time, I have really been on this search for what is the most effective way to work with our minds so we can actually live in harmony with the way things are and see reality clearly and suffer less and get caught up. Let's get less caught up in the habits of our mind that cause us a lot of suffering. So I spent about 4 years studying with a wonderful teacher named Dahani Wahu, who is a Native American woman and also a Buddhist Rinpoche, who teaches both a Native American path of spirituality and the Buddhist path combined. So it was a really wonderful practice. And it included meditation, because I'd always had this idea that in order to work with our minds, somehow meditating must be a part of it. So the practice with Dahani had a meditation, a sitting meditation, and a walking meditation. And I just was terrible. I thought I was terrible at meditating. My mind just wandered all the time. But I really loved what she was teaching. And then from there, I went and studied with a person named Guru Mare Chapman, who teaches a Hindu approach to working with the mind. And again, there was a meditation practice, part of that path. And we were supposed to be able, if we were meditating correctly, we were supposed to be able to experience what she called the blue pearl.
What is that?
Well, I wasn't sure. And I never really experienced it. But when I was meditating, I had a lot of great conversations in my mind with Guru Mare Chapman that was very helpful. But then somewhere along the way, I began to hear about a teacher named Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese monk who was teaching this practice of mindfulness. And he came to Chicago and gave a 5-day teaching, and I went down to that, and I was very intrigued. It seemed really simple, but also somehow not quite enough. And then sometime after that, I'm not sure how long it was, Judy, I got an invitation to a 3-day weekend retreat on something called insight meditation, which was teaching mindfulness. And so I went to this retreat. It was held at an old nunnery in Iowa. And it was a silent meditation retreat. In each sitting meditation that the teacher guided us in, she gave another instruction in the meditation practice. And at the end of those 3 days of practicing, I felt a sense of cohesiveness within myself, things being more connected, just a deeper connection with myself that I'd really never quite felt before. I mean, it was quite palpable.
What does that feel like? Feel connected
just
with?
a sense of, I don't know, groundedness, sort of clarity within myself, kind of being more at home within myself. So I felt that, and then also, in terms of how she taught the practice, each time adding another piece to how we do it, it just seemed to me like this practice of mindfulness was very practical. There was a definite method to it, although clearly there was also an art to it.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wow, if everybody on the planet knew how to do this practice, one, there really wouldn't be much need for my work as a psychotherapist, because it seemed like it taught a tool set that we could use to help ourselves with whatever we're experiencing in life. And then I also thought if everybody on the planet practiced this, it'd be a way calmer, more joyful, happier, stable, wonderful world.
I can imagine that. Yes.
Right. So really that was the beginning of my, okay, I think this makes the most sense to me in terms of how to work with the mind. And so then I really began to study it and read and go on retreats and really dig into it. So
yeah, that sounds
that was
like
the beginning of it. Yeah.
a really enriching experience.
Yes.
And
yes.
I heard you talk about many different approaches to mindfulness. There are different religious backgrounds, different methods.
Yep.
If a common, ordinary person wants to practice mindfulness, where should they start?
Well, I think it's helpful definitely to have instruction, because there is a definite method and I think a set of principles for learning how to practice it. So, and in the world that we have today, I mean, there are so many wonderful teachers of this practice. So I think one, is really helpful to find a teacher or to find a class or to, do an online training or teaching or retreat where you're guided in it, because it's helpful, not only to have the instruction from someone who has their understanding of it, but it's also helpful to learn it with other people. Because I think one of the things that people discover in a class format, for example, when you're learning this with other people, is the amazing realization that, wow, your mind wanders all the time too. Your mind does that too. Oh my gosh, I guess I'm not so, whacked out.
Yeah.
Because this is what our minds do, they do all these things that are, wonderful and also awful for us. So
Maybe they wouldn't blame themselves that much.
That's right.
For the wandering mind.
Right. Yeah. In fact, in that very first retreat that I mentioned, that was one of the first instructions that the teacher gave. She said, when you're practicing, your mind will wander. This is not a problem. And I went, what? Really? Oh my gosh. Thank you for telling me that. You just notice it and then gently and kindly just bring yourself back to whatever is the object of your concentration, the breath, most commonly. Yeah.
I feel that's so crucial.
Oh my gosh, so crucial. Because we think, I don't know, somehow I think people tend to think that if you're meditating correctly, then your mind is just quiet. You're just like,
Right.
Which sounds incredibly appealing, but it's not how our minds are. Our minds are just super active.
Yeah.
Thinking all the time.
Do you feel the goal of meditation is to have a really calm mind, have those always peaceful? Is that the goal?
I don't think, in my understanding of it, I mean, there's lots of different intentions in practice. And I think for most all of us, the beneficial intention of this practice is to learn how to work with what our mind does. So you may experience moments of calm. I think what's common is that as you begin to practice this, especially if you can practice on a daily basis, you will notice that your mind slows down. It's not quite as wild, or when it is wild, you have a way to sort of, come on, let's just get a little bit more stable here. But I think, as my understanding of this meditation practice as taught by the Buddha is that really the intention is to free our minds from the habits of our conditioning so that we can come to see reality clearly and also access what's called our true nature, our Buddha nature. So the notion is that all of our minds become conditioned just in the process of growing up. We all, incorporate what happens to us in our mind. We form beliefs and views and perceptions of ourselves and each other and the world that become biased, altered. This is unavoidable, basically. And then those altered perceptions of reality, can cause us a lot of misery in our lives. But always beyond our conditioned mind is our true nature, our Buddha nature, the part of our consciousness that is not conditioned. And that aspect of our consciousness is spacious and stable and open and wise and kind and loving, compassionate. That's who we really are in the depth of our being or beyond the habits of our conditioning. So the practice of mindfulness allows us to gain access to that aspect of our consciousness. So we can actually access our wisdom and our compassion and our love more easily, more naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel we're born with compassionate, loving heart, and the societal conditioning makes us hard to access our true nature.
I do. Yeah, I think that is kind of how it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, when you mention conditioning, it's hard for me to think about whether I'm conditioned or not. People often say, like, fish just don't know they live in the water.
Yeah.
I feel like we're so used to it.
That's right. Right. Yeah, so that's one of the advantages of meditation, because in meditation you are slowing down, you're stopping. And instead of allowing yourself to be drawn into what's happening outside of yourself, which is our regular way of being in the world, I think.
Yeah.
Instead, we're just turning inward and we're practicing noticing what we're experiencing in our body and in our mind and in our heart, moment by moment by moment. So you begin to see as you do that, one, the habit of the mind just to wander and go wherever it wants to, and how that can take us far away from the present moment. And what's true is that we're only alive in the present moment. Right. And our minds time travel all the time, remembering what happened yesterday, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, zooming into the future, projecting that past into the future, imagining this or that, worry, fear. And while our mind's there, we're not here in the moment and noticing what is actually happening right now. Oh, I'm sitting here with you, Judy, and we're talking about mindfulness, and you're nodding your head, and I'm aware of that. And I just was aware of a kind of frog in my throat. It's like to become aware of your present moment experience. And in contrast, it's easier to see when the mind goes off into some other place. The habit of judging ourselves or judging others is a huge habit of our conditioned mind. And that causes us a lot of trouble, really. So just seeing that habit and learning to understand that it's fantastic to see these habits of our mind that cause us misery, because only by becoming aware of them do we have any possibility of choosing how to respond to them differently.
It sounds really powerful to just observe your mind.
It is, yeah.
Without all the conditioning, all the values, beliefs we previously held.
Yeah. It's very freeing.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about sometimes I struggle with just skipping or taking off some incidents that happened to me in the past. For example, if there's a thing I regret a lot,
Yeah.
how can I get rid of that? Or for many people who've experienced trauma experiences, is it really possible to not think about the past?
Well, no. I mean, it's natural to think about the past.
Right.
I mean, it is actually one of the, I mean, our minds are amazing. The fact that we can remember and recall and also fantasize and plan and be creative. So it's not that these aspects of our mind are a problem. They only are a problem when we're stuck in them. And like a trauma, an experience that happened that was really painful or that you regret, just like you're talking about, when our mind keeps bringing that back, to our present moment experience, to me, that's a signal. That's the way our mind, body, heart system is saying, hey, this is important to pay attention to because it's bothering me, actually.
Yeah.
So then it is possible to bring it into awareness with mindfulness. So for example, it's always helpful to kind of start by just getting kind of settled in your body and finding your breath and just kind of getting present, first of all, to sort of have all your wits about you, so to speak. And then with the intention to try to understand, well, what is this thing that I keep thinking about that makes me feel so bad? And wanting to find a way with that doesn't cause so much suffering. You would just intentionally encourage yourself to think about it. Okay, let's play it. What is it? What is it that I keep thinking about? And you let your mind replay that until you begin to feel the effect of that story, that incident in your body. Because mind and body are completely connected. So what we think about creates feelings and sensations in our bodies.
Right.
And so once you begin to feel that upset, maybe you're feeling sad or angry or guilty or fearful about it. And you begin to notice the sensation in your body that's connected to the story, then it's really helpful to kind of let that story drop away and just pay attention to the sensations that creates in your body. And then to open to those sensations, even when they're uncomfortable. And most of the time they are uncomfortable when we're recalling something that makes us feel bad. Our chest feels tight, or the belly is clenching, or churning. And then you practice just getting really curious about that sensation. And basically, you encourage yourself just to let it be here. Encourage yourself just to accept it. Let it be here the way it is. You kind of even soften around those sensations, that tightness or that queasiness, whatever it is. And as you just allow it to be here, it's quite likely that something different will happen. Like it may just sort of resolve and kind of move along, and now you're not feeling that way anymore. Or you may discover that within that upset are other feelings you were unaware of. Maybe anger, maybe fear. So you just keep allowing it to be here. And also, it's possible as that experience stays here, you might ask yourself, well, when was the first time I ever felt this way? And you just notice what comes to you. Chances are a younger self, maybe it was around a trauma, maybe it was around an experience of being abandoned, or who knows what it was. But you kind of allow your system to kind of show you, unpack what this is really connected to.
That's a really powerful shift in mindset, because I usually feel when, for example, I experience sadness, I really want to just be happy.
All right.
I don't want to be sad, right?
Right. Of course, and that's natural. I think it's really so true that we don't like what feels unpleasant.
Right.
We want to feel pleasant. We want to feel happy feelings. But when we feel unpleasant feelings, sadness, for example, it's for some valid reason. Something is going on around us or within us that is creating that.
So it's more like a signal.
It is a signal, completely a signal. If we can learn to appreciate our emotions as that, as signals to pay attention, as teachers, to kind of point to something matters here. Something happened here that needs healing attention, basically.
Wow.
And then as you explore it in the way I was describing, it becomes possible to find out, well, what is this really about for me? You know, and then what would be a wise and kind way to respond to myself now? So it is a way to sort of access that wisdom that I was talking about, that our true nature, that does understand and have wisdom.
So what's happening in the past, we can still find a way to be curious about it.
Yeah.
And when we look at it now, do we allow ourselves to feel those unpleasant moments? Do we allow ourselves to be sort of broken in some senses?
Vulnerable,
It's
yeah.
an allowance that makes it powerful.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think a basic principle for this whole mindfulness path, this Buddhist philosophy, is the obstacle is the path, actually.
The path.
The path, right. The way out is through. And our habit, because that upset is unpleasant, we don't like it, we don't want it, we don't want to pay attention to it.
Right.
We want to distract ourselves, we want to feel happy, so we have all kinds of ways that we distract ourselves. You know, get to my phone, who texted me, what do I need to pay attention to, you know, to draw our attention away from that upset. But then it still sits there.
Right.
And in the moments, oh yeah, what about that thing that happened to me? Oh gosh, you know, that was so awful. Why did that happen? And the mind can go off on all kinds of stories about that aren't helpful. So learning to really be aware of what we're experiencing. Oh, here's feeling upset right now. Well, what's it like? Getting curious about it. Curiosity is I find a really vitally important attitude to cultivate in this practice. And not the kind of curiosity where we ask why, because sometimes why is a helpful question, but often it leads us into our thinking mind with those ideas about who we think we are and what's supposed to happen. Yeah. So it's much more helpful to ask, or to try to bring kind of a childlike curiosity to our experience. Oh, what's this like right now? How am I actually experiencing it? And that kind of curiosity kind of opens up our experience so we can learn more about what is actually happening.
So next time if somebody experiences unpleasant emotions, they can like pause, step back, and see, okay, why I'm feeling this way.
Right. What's going on here?
Oh.
Yeah, what am I actually experiencing? What's it really about for me?
I feel that's so powerful.
I think it is really powerful, and it's really freeing and very healing.
Yeah, I never thought too much about why should I treat my negative emotions that much.
Yeah.
I feel, as you just said, I often have this habit to just go onto my phone and then scroll for a bit, and it will pass, but it didn't actually go away.
No. Maybe you're not quite so aware of it because you've kind of shifted your attention somewhere else. And you know, there are times in which it's helpful to distract ourselves, but we tend to do it just automatically. It's a habit.
Right.
Something's uncomfortable, well, let's get away from it. Yeah. Instead of, well, that's super interesting. What's it about for me? Yeah, right now.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I'm still thinking about, you mentioned conditioning earlier. And I want to talk about more about it because I know you're also passionate about feminist movement.
Right, yeah.
And I want to kind of explore what conditioning is like for women.
Okay, thanks for asking that, Judy. Yeah. Well, I think because the world that we live in has been built on what are the words I'm trying to find here? Because the world we live in has been run by the patriarchy and patriarchal views, men being in charge for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And some historians will go back and say, well, it wasn't always that way, but there was a shift that happened thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. The primary way that I think we're conditioned as women, because we live in a world that is patriarchal, where men are viewed as in charge and the powerful ones and the ones that should be in charge, and is that those of us who are born female, unconsciously, mostly, although sometimes it's very conscious, are given the message that we don't matter as much, that we're lesser, that the male gender is the dominant gender in the species, and our position as females is to be in the lesser position. And that plays out in so many different ways. But the effect of that is that we learn to agree with that as girls and women, and tend to devalue ourselves. And because we don't value ourselves, because there's this view that we don't matter as much, and we can look at the world and see so many ways that women are abused, murdered, mistreated, denied their basic rights in so many incredible ways. So it's not hard to find evidence for this. But the effect of that is that it wounds our sense of ourself. And we grow up, if we're not aware of this, with the view that there's something wrong with us, we're not enough. And so therefore it becomes really difficult, if not impossible, to hold ourselves with equal respect, and to care for ourselves and to love ourselves. Instead, because we don't think we matter enough, we look to others, especially the male gender, but pretty much all others, to validate that we are enough. So in my view, we are trained to kind of give our power away to others. I call this othering, this version of othering. And so we try to be pleasing to other people, we try to be perfect to other people, we try to make sure that everybody else is happy, that we're tending to them in ways that they are happy with us about, that we're pleasing them. Because we have this idea that if we can just make sure that everybody else is happy with us, then we'll be loved, then we'll be safe, then we'll be enough. But it's an impossible setup, because we can never know for sure if that other person really views us that way as enough. And so we're caught, I think, in this, or trained in this trap of trying to be perfect. And it's impossible to be perfect. We're human beings,
Right.
We make mistakes. We're learning, we're going through our entire lifetime. I think for women, this causes us to live with a certain level of anxiety, of uncertainty about ourselves. And at least in the United States, mental health statistics, year after year, this has not changed over all the time that I've been teaching this. Mental health statistics, year after year, show that women experience more than 2 times the amount of anxiety and depression that men experience. And that is not because we're weaker. I think it's because of our conditioning. We're just always taught to habitually think about the other first and put ourselves last. Maybe later I'll pay attention to what I need.
Yeah.
And then we tend to think that we're being selfish if we pay attention to our own needs first.
I can feel really relatable to that.
Yeah. Do you notice it in yourself?
Yeah, I feel as a girl, at least in my family, I've always taught to have certain female characteristics, if that makes sense. For example, be gentle.
Yep.
Be kind with each other, be with others.
Yeah.
Always care for brothers. And get good grades in school. Be a good girl. All kinds of stuff like that.
Oh yeah, be a good girl. Right.
Yeah. But I didn't know that was othering. I didn't know I wasn't living for myself, because to me it feels so natural.
Yes, right. Because it's just so common. I mean, you used that metaphor of fish in water. I remember one time and fish not realizing that they're in water, or whatever the metaphor is. I remember one time in teaching this class that I teach for women on how to use mindfulness to free ourselves from the habits of our conditioning. One woman said exactly that. She said, when I began to realize how much my mind was always dwelling on others, how much I'm just always thinking about others. What are they thinking about me? Did I say that right? Are they upset with me now? Should I have done something different?
Right.
Just always occupied with thinking about whoever the other is, you know, your partner or children or parents or teacher or boss or friend. She was just shocked. She said, it's like fish not realizing that they're in water. It's just her experience. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet that happens to almost everybody.
Yeah.
And I also feel like sometimes as a woman in the society, we really value the appearance. I feel so many of my friends would spend so much time on what clothes to buy and then makeups to make us feel pretty.
Right. Judy. Yeah.
And that doesn't make me feel powerful.
No. Makes you feel doubtful, doesn't it? You know, have I put on the right clothes today? You know, how does my hair look? I mean, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's just, and there's whole huge industries making billions of dollars off of this. Right.
It's so crazy.
It is. Yeah.
As if all the shopping malls wouldn't exist if there were no one.
I know it. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But some women argue that wearing pretty and then making them feel beautiful sometimes is empowering them. So how do we view, like, as a woman, what should we care?
Boy, I don't know. Yeah, that's a really great question. And you know, I think it's natural that you know, as human beings, you know, in a way we're pack animals. You know, feeling connected to others, feeling like you belong, is so important to us naturally. And so I think there's a way that is completely natural that we want to, you know, look acceptable to our peer group, especially. So maybe it's a question of, you know, to what extremes do we go? How much do we worry about that? You know, I don't know. I just know for myself as I've gotten older and older and older. Of course, I tend to be kind of rebellious anyway. But as I've gotten older and older, it's just like, you know, what I put on for me has to be comfortable first and foremost. And I want to feel like I like the colors that I've chosen for myself because of the colors that I like, for example. So anyway, I care less and less about what other people think. But I think that probably is a process of being older. And also I would hope there's practices to just realize, well, even if I, you know, spend, you know, hours getting myself all, you know, dressed up to look how I think I should look for everyone else to think, wow, Mare Chapman looks gorgeous today. I can't control what they're thinking about me.
Right.
I mean, there's no way we can control other people's thoughts about us. So, you know what, by realizing that, I think it's really going, well, giving ourselves some freedom to not be so controlled by that part of our mind, that comparing mind that always wants to make sure everyone is saying, all right, Judy, you're good, you know?
For sure. Yeah. I'm thinking about when I try to look pretty, it's often because I'm anxious that, you know, I want to get a partner and who will like me.
That's right.
So what are the reasons that we want to just buy pretty clothes, make ourselves look good? Deep down, what is the motivation that drives us to do so much in real life? Is it because we want to belong in peer groups? Is that because is this somewhat biological? We feel this way too, like for mating, for dating. What do you think?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I'm sure it's complicated.
For sure.
I think it's complex, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I think some people, you know, think about what they're wearing as a kind of art, you know, for the body.
Yeah.
So maybe really the place to notice is, you know, how attached am I to how I'm looking and being viewed, you know? And if we find that we're worrying about it a lot, this is my opinion, if I find that I'm worrying about it a lot, or a woman that I'm working with is worrying about it a lot, and it causes a lot of anxiety, then to me, that's a kind of signal, to pay attention to that anxiety then, to pay attention to that anxiety and to kind of, as we were talking earlier, kind of explore that reaction that's actually causing some insecurity and misery because of the uncertainty. You know, I've got to attract a man, or a partner, I've got to find, you know, someone. So what is that rooted in? And I think that's a lot more helpful. Because really, I think when people are comfortable with themselves, when you meet someone that's comfortable with themselves and they're relaxed with themselves and they're just being authentic, to me personally, that's the kind of people that I want to hang out with, that I want to know, because I can relax with them.
Right.
You know, I can trust them. So, you know, whatever external appearance that they're giving to me, based on what they're wearing, or makeup or not, or hairdo,
Yeah.
to me, that's the most valuable part. Is this person comfortable with themselves? Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that phrase. When you be comfortable with yourself, and when you feel relaxed, when you're not wearing something or doing something for the sake of getting other people like you, I feel it's really hard to achieve. It's how can we put ourselves first? I feel there are so many values attached to many other things we do in life. We wear pretty clothes to feel attractive. We work to probably feel successful in the society. And I just feel being comfortable, even though it seems easy, but it's so hard to achieve.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a long, evolving process of growth. I think of understanding ourselves and and seeing through those beliefs that got formed unconsciously, you know, about how I think I have to be in order to be loved and successful. You know, always nice, always giving, you know, always responsive, always kind. Not that we don't want to be that way, because I think we are, in our deepest sense, kind and loving. But, you know, our conditioning teaches us to worry about that and then try to be that way.
Right.
So the other person, as you said, will like us, approve of us, give us the promotion or whatever it is that we're seeking. And then we're anxious and uncertain of ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think it's a long process of accepting ourselves, seeing through those habits of conditioning that don't serve us, and discovering that we can be present and we can be responsive. And we can also have boundaries and say, no, you know, I'm not able to respond to what you want right now. Because that's another thing I think we're taught to do as women. No boundaries, just keep giving.
Right.
Never mind that I'm exhausted. You know, never mind that I'm starving or whatever. I'll eat later. So it's a process of learning to be aware of ourselves and know ourselves and respect what it is that we're experiencing. And I think ultimately, as we learn to do that and are able to live that way, then our relationships with other people become mutual. You know, we can become aware of ourselves and what we're experiencing in the moment as we're relating to this other person. So it's not that we want to get to the place where I'm only paying attention to me. Nobody else matters at all. That would be selfish,
For
right?
sure.
But we want to be self-responsible. We want to know what we are experiencing ourselves so we can respond to whatever's happening out here with the other person or in our world, so we can respond wisely to that.
Is putting ourselves first selfish?
No. I think that's a common response. I mean, when I teach this to women, that's the first response. Oh, that's selfish. I remember my mother saying to me when I was a teenager, the worst thing is to be selfish. Never, she said to me, literally, she said, never think of yourself first. That's selfish. That was direct instruction to other. Really, I realized that later. It's like, wow, that is so severe, really.
Yeah.
Because I think it's possible to think, I think we have to think of ourselves first. And it's not selfish. It's about finding out, okay, well, what is true for me right now? Do I have the energy right now to be doing what I'm doing? Do I have the desire to be in this conversation with this other person, for example? Do I have the motivation to do this particular task right now or not? And this is just basic information about ourselves. And when we ignore that information, then we stress ourselves out, we exhaust ourselves, we burn out, we feel all different kinds of distress, actually. So it's just basic information about ourselves to notice what we are experiencing in the moment. It's not selfish, it's wise, it's important data.
Yeah, I'm thinking about there are two situations where the first situation is like, I'm selfish and I always put myself first. And that would make other people feel like it's not a healthy relationship. But in the other relationship, which I feel like could be the healthier one, is that after we actually pay attention to ourselves, we have the ability to provide willingly. Well, in the first scenario, we feel our emotions are neglected.
That's right.
Or in the other scenario, we're going to provide willingly. Does that sound correct? Like the second,
I think so.
Yeah.
I think totally, Stu. In the first version, our conditioned version, we do ignore our feelings.
Right.
And as a result, we tend to just feel anxious or depressed most of the time because we're just pushing our feelings down.
Right.
But in the healthy, I'll call it the healthy realization that our experience matters, it's important data, it's important information about ourselves as we're living our life, as we're doing our work, our relationships, then it is natural to be caring about ourselves and caring about the other person at the same time.
Yeah.
Here's what's happening to me, what's happening to you. We're aware of both, hopefully.
Yeah.
In that way, that's what I think of mutual. It's a mutual relationship. One person isn't above the other. We're on the same level.
Yeah. I feel that just solves one of my worries about self-love versus selfish.
Right.
Yeah. I tend to think, if I think about myself all the time, that's really selfish. And even though many people would phrase it as self-love, putting yourself first, it doesn't make me feel fulfilled.
No, it doesn't. But ironically, I think what happens in our conditioning to other is that we are thinking about ourselves first, but it's in a backwards way. We're thinking about that other person and what's going on with them and what they need from me and how they feel about me. We're thinking about ourselves through the imagined eyes of the other.
So it's all our imagination, our thoughts getting messy.
Yeah, right. And even though it starts out or is related to this incident with the other person, the core of it is worrying about ourselves.
I see.
But I'll just tell you, just recently, yesterday, a session with a woman who really is facing a very severe situation in her life. She got a very serious cancer. And and she was profoundly trained to other, like we all were. And so one of the biggest challenges that she has in helping herself create the best possible conditions for her to move through this cancer successfully and heal is setting boundaries and saying no to taking care of other people right now. She's become so used to her entire life being the one to be responsible. This is one of the effects of our conditioning as women, is that we tend to be overly responsible for others. We take on responsibility that really isn't ours to take on.
Right.
But it makes us feel successful, makes us feel needed, super helpful. Other people come to depend on us for that. I mean, there's tons of reinforcement for it. But the result is it doesn't leave space to notice ourselves and to, what am I feeling? So this is a huge challenge for this woman to realize that it is self-responsible, not selfish, to now set boundaries and say to her people, I need the space to rest right now. I need the space to just slow down and work with my own inner experience here. And you're all capable of taking care of yourselves. You're all plenty old. You're not, you can do it. But it's really hard because of the habits and the beliefs that she has to be the one. And I think that's common for us as women.
Yeah.
And then we suffer.
To set boundaries and then to think about what you're capable of. You say this is self-responsible.
Self-responsible, right.
That's a really interesting way to look at this problem.
Yeah.
I feel, how is that responsible to ourselves?
Well, because then we're able to pay attention to what is needed, to take a rest, to go to the gym and work out instead of, whatever we might be doing to take care of somebody else, to sit and meditate and to be aware of the habits of the mind, or to simply, rest and relax, or to spend time with a dear friend, exchanging things rather than, rushing home to make supper and looking over your children's homework and making sure they're doing it correctly, and all kinds of things that are, about caring for others,
right.
But at the expense of ourselves. So, and if we can take care of ourselves, be aware of what we're needing, then when we are with others, we're completely present and available.
Yeah.
But if we don't, if we ignore ourselves, we will get irritated, we will get exhausted, we will resent the people that we love, we will feel frustrated and depressed,
that doesn't feel sustaining.
No, it's not
only
sustaining.
Temporary
Right.
to sacrifice.
Right. Yeah.
But at the end, if we don't treat ourselves seriously, if we don't understand what we need, what we want, eventually we'll feel like we're not myself anymore.
That's right.
I'm gonna live for other people.
Exactly. You lose connection with yourself. One of the things in my class for women, and in the book that I wrote about this, Unshakable Confidence, the freedom to be your authentic self, mindfulness for women, that one of the things that we stop asking ourselves as we get older, in the course of our minds being conditioned in this way, is we stop asking ourselves, well, what do I want? At a certain age, actually, I think it's really around 13 or so, that when someone asks us, well, what do you want? What do you want, Mare? We begin to shift and say, well, I don't know, what do you want? And you tell me what you want, and then I'll figure out how whether or not I want that and how I can relate to that. And so we stop that question, well, what do I want? What do I need? Gets kind of dropped in our conditioning, and we know a lot more about what other people want and need, or should want and need, than ourselves very often. So in my class, when I ask women to ask yourself, well, what do I want? What do I really need? That kicks up all kinds of things like, well, that's selfish.
Yeah.
to ask that. And then it's like, well, I don't really know. I don't really know what I want. What do I need? Which also is disturbing to realize,
Yeah.
but really important to go, oh, wait, whose life is this?
Wow.
You know?
It's like as if we don't ask those questions, we'll never realize.
Right. Yeah.
That's
And once we know what we want, it's not that we don't have wants and needs, it's just that we're not aware of them.
right.
So it's not that those wants and needs don't drive us, but we're not conscious of them. So if we know what we want, if we can ask ourselves, well, what do I want right now? What's most important to me right now? And we listen and we get the answer, then we can ask ourselves, well, okay, is it wise for me to want that? Is wanting that actually going to take me in the direction that I want to go in my life? Will having that, lead to less suffering or more suffering? Because some of the things we want aren't actually in our best interest.
Really?
Sure.
What kind of desires?
Do I want to have a drink, for example?
Right.
Is it really in my best interest to have an alcoholic beverage right now, for example?
But
Or
alcohol.
how about I want a really fancy car? How important is that to want that?
That would make us feel good temporarily, though.
That's right, temporarily, exactly. Right. So by bringing it into awareness, though, then you can notice whether or not, and you can also ask yourself, well, okay, this is what I want. Is that something that I'm going to be likely to achieve, to actually have that? Because some of the things that we want really are not realistic to want either.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So just by bringing those into awareness, by knowing what we want, then we have the possibility of bringing discerning wisdom to it.
What is the wisdom we can bring?
Well, like I was just saying, is this achievable actually? Is it in my best interest to want this? Would it be wiser of me just to sort of, okay, well, that would be a fun thing to have someday, Mare, but really, it's not going to bring happiness. It's not going to, bring me long-lasting joy.
Yeah,
It'll be a temporary,
Yeah.
Like I have a thing with shoes. I love shoes. I'm not going to tell you how many pairs of shoes I have because it's really, over the top. So I've now learned to ask myself that, when I find myself lusting over some really cute or cool shoes, it's like, well, Mare, really, I've discovered that it's more in the anticipation of getting that pair of shoes that is the most exciting thing rather than actually having them. So anyway, you begin to learn these things about yourself by asking these questions.
We have to learn to say no, even to ourselves.
Yes, we do. Sure.
That will be a hard thing to do. Like right now, I want to travel the world, but maybe I can work towards it.
Yeah, just little by little.
Yeah. That's a really important distinction I want to discuss as well. Like in self-love, like eating junk food definitely is not the right way.
It's not, right.
Yeah, I've seen so many toxic messages online where, feminism has shifted from a point where they don't get supported at all to now they want to get very supported. And some part of it becomes a little bit toxic where, for example, women who have like unhealthy image, comments will be like, it's fine. At least you love yourself, you do whatever you want. And every time I look at them, I'm just thinking about, is that the right thing to do though? Like we both know that it's not going to be healthy for you.
Right.
But should we encourage this, you do whatever you want kind of behavior?
Yeah, well, I think we should encourage wisdom, actually.
Encourage wisdom?
Rather than indulgence. Because
Right.
I don't think indulgence, I guess one of the things that I love so much about this Buddhist path and being Buddhist yourself, I'm sure you can speak to this, but which is that, we're really trying to cut through what doesn't bring us happiness. we're really trying to, what is happiness anyway? What is it that we're aiming for?
Mm-hmm.
And, what gives us more lasting satisfaction? And we know it's not those temporary things like, eating this whole bag of chips or, buying that next pair of shoes or, So, to me it's a path of learning, what really is, what really is satisfying in our heart of hearts and respecting that. And
Yeah. I really like last time you mentioned to think about our future self and then relate back to ourself. I feel that's very applicable in this situation.
Right.
It's like eating those healthy things, would that make my future self the person I want to become? I feel probably not.
Right, exactly, right, yeah. Yeah, and so that's a little example of a useful exercise of the mind time traveling into the future, right? Because knowing ourselves, knowing what happens when you eat that bag of chips, now it's fun while you're eating it, and then later it's like, ugh, right?
Yeah.
Just remembering that and kind of seeing that, that could happen again, and is that what I really want to do?
Yeah. I really like the mindful exercises you brought up with me, like the one with put your
oh my gosh, the multitasking experiment.
Yeah, I love those. Are there more you like to share with us today? Because
Are there more?
I feel it's so helpful, even though it's a little mind exercise.
Yeah. The power of thoughts exercise is really mind-blowing. I think, that's the most dramatic one that I've come across, that I've discovered in teaching this, because it's so instant and so powerful. But I think, in general, this practice of mindfulness is that it helps us just stay connected to our present moment direct experience. Not only what is happening in the mind, and the mind's being so busy, the mind thinks, just thousands and thousands of thoughts in a given day that we don't have control over.
I know.
We don't have any control over what pops into our mind. But by becoming aware of this thought, this story that's in my mind right now, we can ask ourselves, well, is that thought about what's actually happening in this moment? Oftentimes, of course, it's not. Is this thought accurate? Is it actually true, what I'm imagining? Oftentimes it's not actually true. It's just a judgment or a conclusion. Does this thought serve me right now? Does it help me? Is it useful? Does it take me in the direction I want to go or not? So it helps us become discerning about our thoughts. And then through the practice, by learning to notice when the mind wanders into a thought and then just choosing to come back to the present moment, we are seeing that we can actually shift our attention away from thoughts. So when you think a thought, a story comes up in the mind that you ask those questions to. Is this thought about what's happening now? Is it accurate? Is it true? Does it serve me or not? Because in meditation, I've been practicing noticing thoughts and then coming back to the breath and letting those thoughts go. It becomes more possible in the moment that I'm living my life and I realize, this person is now thinking this about me and they think that I'm really just full of baloney, right? Or something like that. And I see that thought and I realize, oh no, it doesn't help me at all. Then I can just choose to come back to the present moment and let that thought go. So it builds this ability to be able to be aware and then let go of what doesn't serve us. And that's so freeing.
Yeah.
It's so practical.
To choose what thoughts serves you.
Choose to let it go, right. Yeah. Just go, oh, that's just a, unhelpful thought.
Yeah.
So, but also besides thoughts, it helps us, the practice helps us get in our bodies, and our bodies never lie. And our minds can be very tricky and clever in the thoughts and rationale and reasons and all kinds of analysis that they can create. But our bodies just tell it like it is. So, and we feel our emotions in our bodies. So learning to just be more aware of the sensations that are happening in the body, not only the biological sensations like an ache in your knee or a sore back, or if you have a cold, what that feels like. I mean, just as an aside, mindfulness is one of the most effective mind-body methods for working with pain. It's possible to experience pain without suffering through this approach, which another fantastically practical skill to learn, because living in these bodies, we do experience pain. We will experience pain. It's a given. But to learn how to not have to suffer with pain is, wow, really beneficial.
How can we not suffer from pain? Isn't pain painful?
Pain is painful, yes it is. But the suffering is really caused by our mind's reaction to it. Oh no, what does this mean? This pain that's here right now in my knee, for example, or in my belly or wherever it is. What does it mean? Why is it here? What if it means I have cancer? What if it means I have surgery? What if it means I'm dying? I mean, in an instant, the mind can create a whole catastrophic imagining about what that sensation means. And then we're experiencing that along with the actual pain of the sensation. So, there's a metaphor that supposedly the Buddha said about this. I'm not sure if any of these stories about the Buddha are really true.
I don't know either.
But there's a metaphor that I think is so helpful for this, and it's called the second arrow metaphor. And the story goes that the Buddha said, imagine what it would be like if someone were to shoot an arrow into your body. Where that arrow hits you would be very painful. Right? No doubt about it. It would really hurt. And then supposedly he said, imagine what it would be like if you were to get shot with a second arrow in the same place that the first arrow hit your body. That would amplify the pain of the first arrow tremendously. So he said, this is what we do when we have a painful experience in the body. This includes emotions too. But a painful experience in the body, and then our mind reacts by saying, oh no, what if it means this? What if this happens? What if I can't stand it? What if I have this pain for the rest of my life? What if this means, and off the mind goes and creating a big story reaction to that sensation. That's hitting ourselves with that second arrow. So if we can understand that that's a reaction the mind has, and then be aware of it when it happens, and go, oh, here I am creating this big story. Well, that's just made up. This physical sensation, pain, is what's true and real, but that story is not, because we don't know. So then we just bring our awareness back to that physical sensation, and there's a way of learning to relate to it, those physical sensations that are painful, that hurt, that make it possible to stay present with it. You bring a lot of curiosity to it. Well, what is this sensation like right now? What's the size of it? What's the shape of it? Does it have a depth? Is it soft? Is it hard? You investigate it like a scientist. Well, what is this like right now? And then once you get it all kind of discovered what it's really like in this moment, then you kind of just give it lots of space. You kind of relax with it. You kind of relax around it. And because of this law of impermanence in nature, everything is in the process of shifting and changing. If we were simply open to that sensation the way it is, and holding it in our awareness with lots and lots of room, it won't stay the same. It might intensify, it might get less, it might just shift and change and be done with, but it won't stay the same. And we're not suffering with it. It's not pleasant, but we're not adding that second arrow, that mental and emotional suffering. So
this feels like we can separate ourselves from the pain. Like we don't have to judge it, add all the thoughts onto why I might feel painful. We'd rather just experience, try to observe it.
Right. And there is a way that we're not identifying with it, because one of the most important principles, too, besides curiosity, I think of there being 6 principles for practicing mindfulness. Mm-hmm. We're paying attention to what's here in the present moment, our direct experience, and then we're relating to it with that curiosity that I talked about, which opens things up. Mm-hmm. And we're also relating to it with kindness and gentleness, compassion. And we're also relating to it with acceptance. Instead of judging it, thinking it shouldn't be here, we're just accepting it, welcoming it even, because that's what's here right now. And then the last principle is we're practicing not identifying with it, not taking it personally. And that is probably one of the hardest ones to keep remembering. Because this is my body, right? And so, but we tend, that habit of taking our experiences personally shoots us into those second arrows, pretty much automatically. What does this mean about me? Why am I like this? Why is this here? What is going to happen to me because I'm feeling this right now? And instead, we're just trying to observe that there's this sensation here right now that is unpleasant. It has this certain size and shape to it. And we're just relaxing with it, accepting with it, letting it be. And because we're not messing with it, we're not resisting it, and we're not adding on to it with those secondary stories, we're helping to create the conditions that will allow nature to have its way in permanence. It won't stay like this for the rest of my life, you know, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah. So there's so many great things that this practice of mindfulness can teach us. It makes it easier to live this life as a human being in these bodies.
Yeah, I can really feel how not identifying with our emotions, our feelings, can help us see things clearly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's just a really simple principle for doing this, which is called softly noting. Softly noting, I like to think of it as in quotation marks.
Uh-huh.
So like when you're noticing that an emotion is here, let's say it's anxiety, or sadness or anger or anything like that, instead of saying, I'm sad or I'm angry, it's just, you just softly note, sadness is here, or here's anger. You delete that personal pronoun. That's the method actually, is you delete that personal pronoun. So it's not my depression, it's depression is here right now. Well, what's it like? And that automatically creates some space from it, some room from it, so that your perspective shifts a little bit.
Yeah, I'm imagining if I'm experiencing depression, rather than thinking about I have to live in this depression, I can think about it's just there happening in my body right now, but I don't have to live in it. Or
that's right.
You said it
doesn't
creates some
define you,
space.
right?
Right. Wow.
It doesn't have to be your identity.
That feels so powerful.
It is really powerful. It's really freeing. If you just listen to people's language, you'll see, though, that many people don't understand that. They will talk about, my anxiety today is really high, or my depression is really hard right now. Mm-hmm. My pain is really almost unbearable.
Right.
You know, then there's, that's a lot of suffering in that,
It's not to disconnect ourselves.
No, it's not a disconnection. I think people often think that, because you're still very aware of your experience.
Right.
You're aware, oh, here's the story, here's the sensation in the body. You're not disconnecting, you're not detaching. It's just a different relationship to the experience. So this sense of me, I, ego, steps aside. And instead of being the interpreter and the storyteller, the ego, we're we're letting that go. We're letting that just sort of sit over there, please. Thank you very much for a little while.
And they will.
That's right. And then they'll hop back in really fast. Oh, there you are again.
Wow. This feels so wonderful. I can already imagine how, if we don't use this to amplify our pain, our negative emotions, we can use this to amplify something else happening to us.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
It can be such a great tool.
Yeah, it's really wonderful.
To free our mind a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and just accept ourselves more. And by accepting ourselves, it doesn't mean that we just are like, well, whatever then. I'm just going to like ooze out all over the place or something.
Yeah.
It just means we are aware of ourselves, and we take that critical judge off of who's always off of our, back, and go,
Turns out we are the person who judges us the most, who are done the most harm to us.
Oh, you're totally right.
Yeah.
Right. The things we say to ourselves, we would never say to another person.
That's
never.
so true.
Never. Right. Yeah.
Well, I truly feel I learned so much just from this conversation. There's so many moments I feel like, wow, my mind is like waking up to me. It's like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. And there's just so many mind-shifting moments that are happening. Yeah, to conclude our conversation, were there any messages you want to talk we didn't mention, I didn't ask, to the audience that you think will be helpful?
Well, I think never give up on yourself. And I think the more we can just remember that in the depth of our being, or beyond the habits of our conditioning, lies our true nature, who we all really are, and who we really are is wise and kind and loving and generous and basically good. And then, of course, we all have things to learn in our lifetime, and we all have our own path to follow. So I think the more we can learn to understand ourselves and accept ourselves, allow ourselves to be who we truly are, who we authentically are, the more we will just naturally live our path and be of use to ourselves and each other. So just the encouragement to never give up, and to find a practice that really feels right to you, to trust ourselves.
Trust our own intuition.
Yes, that's right, our own intuition, right. Listen to our heart, listen to our bodies.
That's a really warm message, and thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having me, Judy. It was really lovely talking with you.
Yeah.
Wonderful talking with you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.